Hello, 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 everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. We're going to be reading the next section in chapter 7, Reinventing the Wheel. And of course, we're still reading Sacred Contracts written by Carolyn Myss. And in this next section, we're going to be going over each house of the wheel, of the archetypal wheel individually. And the author has shared a figure up here of the archetypal wheel. I will show it to you. It's a little bit hard to see though. The text is really small, like there's words in here. And then in this gray portion, we have a zodiac sign, and then we have the numbers that go around 1 through 12, since there are going to be 12 houses in the wheel, and we have our family of 12 when we're thinking about and talking about which archetypes relate to our psyche and our patterns in life the most. So whether you figured out what your archetype is or not, that's okay. And even if you didn't do the exercises in chapter 6, that's okay too. As the author said, it's okay to skip that chapter and move on to the next one if you didn't want to focus on one of the 4 that we all carry, and just move on to more working with the wheel. So the wheel was invented and placed into 12 different houses. Each one correlates with the zodiac sign, and there's a few key words that are attached to each piece of the wheel, we'll say. So for example, number 1 starts with Aries, and we have the words ego and personality. Then we have number 2, that's Taurus. We have life values. Then number 3, we've got Gemini, and it says self-expression and siblings. Number 4 is Cancer, and we have the word home. Number 5 is Libra, and we have creativity and good fortune. Then we've got number 6, which is Virgo, and it says occupation, health. Number 7, we have, number 5 is Leo. Leo, creativity, good fortune. Number 7 is Libra, and we have marriage and relationships. Number 8 is Scorpio. We've got other people's resources. Number 9 is Sagittarius, where we have spirituality. Number 10 is Capricorn, highest potential. Number 11 is Aquarius, relationship to the world. And number 12, Pisces, the unconscious. So this isn't to say that whatever your astrological sign is automatically attached to these words. These are all going to correlate together, and each house is broken up individually. So I will try to read 2 or 3 each video, since we've got 12, in order to not break them up too much, but also not to give you too much all at once. So let's go ahead and get started. Making your houses your home. That's what this is titled. So the first house, ego and personality. First and third chakras. That's what those are connected to. In an astrological chart, the 12 houses correspond to the 12 signs of the zodiac and to the 4 cosmic energies: earth, air, fire, and water. The houses of the archetypal wheel share some of these same characteristics. The first house of the archetypal wheel, for example, corresponds to the astrological sign of Aries, the first house of the zodiac. Beginning on the first day of spring, it represents new beginnings. And since Aries is also a fire sign, this house has the climate of passion that animates birth, including the birth of the self and the constant rebirthing we undergo as we mature. And so the archetype takes up energy in your persona. A woman named Charlotte, for example, identified the shapeshifter as one of her 12 archetypes, and it landed on her first house. So the shapeshifter is a dominant characteristic in her persona. Charlotte strongly related to fairy tales such as The Ugly Duckling and The Princess and the Frog, in which the fearful, unattractive aspect of the main character is instantly transformed to beauty and empowerment. The shapeshifter has long been known to shamans of the American Indian and other native traditions as having the ability to change its appearance for a variety of reasons. Among other things, it can maneuver among different levels of consciousness, between dream and waking states, and among the astral, mental, and etheric planes. Its energy is apparent in Charlotte's struggle to hold on to her beliefs and opinions. She changes the shape of her opinions just as fire goes where the wind blows, to such an extent that people find it difficult to get to know her. Charlotte seems unreliable, scattered, and disloyal. She is forever attracting people who assume she is a certain way, which indeed she is at the moment, only to discover that she is not really who she seems. One of Charlotte's challenges, as she readily admits, is to develop and maintain a strong sense of self so that she does not change her shape to suit the person she is with or to say what she thinks someone else wants to hear. Numerous interpersonal contracts are pushing her to do this. I didn't even look at the shapeshifter initially as one of mine, but that sounds very much like something that I do a lot, because I like to always have harmony and I like to fit in a sense, especially with certain people. And I'm not afraid to admit that, but it's also kind of makes me feel weak at the same time. Like, just be who I am and disagree if I want to disagree. And if I really agree, then really agree. And if people like it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. Because, you know, people are going to like you or not like you regardless. You could agree with everything they say. And if they don't really like you, it doesn't really matter. Not even anything past that moment where you may agree about something. And I say that because you may not really, you're just going along with it to have a more copacetic relationship, to have a more even flow, to get along, to find a common ground, whatever it may be. That's interesting. All right, your identity, self-esteem, and awareness of your ego lay the groundwork for your life. How you conduct yourself with others and whether you have the strength to make your way without needing to ask for another's permission depends on how well you succeed at the many challenges that awaken your need to take charge of who you are. And now we have the second house, which is our life values, and these are correlated to our second chakra. And I believe when she's talking about chakras in this sense, the first and third, as long as we're going from the bottom up, we're talking about the root chakra and the solar plexus. And in the second chakra, we're talking about the sacral plexus. The second house of the archetypal wheel corresponds to Taurus, an earth sign that rules your relationship to the land in its broadest sense. It represents what you most value and hold dear. In energy terms, the second house represents the next stage in the formation of the self. Now that I'm here, what's mine? What do I want out of life? What power is essential to my interacting with physical life? This house represents your appreciation for the physical nature of life, the objects of this earth that appeal to your ego and spirit, and what you need most to feel grounded in the world. This house most reflects which objects or energy you associate with earthly power, like money, status, ownership, art, the capacity to control others, sensuality, beauty. These are the most seductive means through which the spirit becomes attached to physical form. The archetype that resides within this house, therefore, is the one that is most aligned with your relationship to physical power and its icons. Glenn had the Midas archetype in his second house. He converted all of his entrepreneurial ideas into physical gold. He had the proverbial touch, but like Midas, he also struggled with how the power of money challenged the power of his spirit. Just as Midas killed his daughter when he inadvertently changed her to metal, Glenn's emotional life was cold and barren. For years, he was unaware of anything except money. In his relationship with others, with whom he now recognizes he has contracts, the question often became whether he valued his finances more than he valued them. One of the central lessons he must learn is how to interact with people without needing to control or dominate them, and to interact with the things of the world without being controlled by them. The challenge of this house is to see beyond the physical form of our attachments to objects, money, status, power, and all the other manifestations of the physical world to your spiritual values. People often suffer great anguish because they believe that to be happy, they must possess a particular person, place, or thing. And yet the ability to love unconditionally is antithetical to attachment. That's very true. And now we have the third house, which is self-expression and siblings. And these are attached to our third and fifth chakras. So the third chakra is the solar plexus, and then we have the throat chakra. Sorry, I was kind of counting up. We've been going backwards from top to bottom up until now. So it seems that she's going in the traditional order of bottom to top in that sense. Okay. Once you establish your values, you move into self-expression, how you present what you are and what you hold dear to the world. The third house, aligned with Gemini, an air sign that rules communication, represents your capacity to express yourself as an individual, as well as your siblings. The symbolic link of siblings with communication represents the natural process of specialization, of first discovering your voice among your fellow children. Siblings, therefore, should be interpreted not only as your biological family members, but also as those who aid your growth. Because the energy of your third house involves both your sense of self-esteem and your self-expression, it resonates with the third and fifth chakras. It contains the lessons inherent in learning about the causes and effects of your choices, how you wield your own power. It reveals how you direct your energy into the world, how you put it into motion, and how you engage it with the laws of magnetic attraction and cause and effect. You want to become conscious of how you use your personal energy and power so that you can become aware of the consequences of your thoughts and deeds. Becoming conscious means awakening to your own power and learning to direct it responsibly. The archetype in residence in your third house influences how you weigh your decisions. So remember, she's using examples just to show us where each person's archetype lies. So your archetype wheel is going to look different where you've placed, after you figured out your 12, where you've placed them in your house, and learning about the archetypal wheel will give you a better idea of where you're placing them, if that makes sense to you. And then you'll know a little bit more about each one and their connection to the zodiac sign and the words that she kind of placed in there, because that's what the representation sort of is. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Influences how you weigh your decisions. Choices that are consciously negative or damaging, especially those aimed at deliberately harming other people, represent the challenging or shadow aspect of the third house. A man named John in a workshop had the servant archetype in his third house. This situation brought him endless delight because he believed that his role in life was to be of service to others. John brought this commitment into everything he did and into all of his relationships. The idea of being of service had inspired him as early as he could recall. When the time came for him to choose a profession, he went on a retreat to pray for guidance. In his prayer, he said that what he did in life was of no concern to him, and that he would do whatever heaven directed him to do, because he had faith that the divine would place him where he could be best of service. Where he could best be of service. I don't know why that was so difficult for me. This demonstration of faith in the unknown would not be possible for most people, but John also had the wanderer archetype as a companion. Residing in his ninth house, which is spirituality, the wanderer led John to relocate to a different part of the country every 2 to 3 years, working at odd jobs. For John, this path of service gave him a feeling of freedom that he loved, and also allowed him to meet people from all over. Because he clung to no special place, he felt free to be fully himself and give unconditionally. He also felt abundantly satisfied with the simplest pleasures, most of which came from spending time with people who needed someone to talk to, or any other help that he could offer. I have never met another person like John, and for a moment I was tempted to ask him if his first name might be Saint. He certainly radiated a quality of grace that inspired others to see the great power in service. The challenge of the third house is to become conscious of your motivations. Every thought, word, action, and deed is an expression of your power. And ultimately, only 2 genuine motivations stir the psyche: the empowerment or disempowerment of the self and others. And then we'll go ahead and read the 4th house. This one represents home, and this lies in our 1st and 4th chakras. So that's going to be the root chakra and the heart chakra. The 4th house corresponds to Cancer, the first of the 3 water signs of the zodiac chart. Water is the element associated with our emotional natures. So the archetype that resides within your 4th house has the strongest influence on the foundation of your emotional nature. Your self-expression, be it as an individual or through creation, needs to be grounded to have a home. The 4th house is connected both with the home you came from and with your present home. The word or image home clearly has many meanings, and in the dream state, it is often associated with the true residence of the heart, or your deepest passion in life. The theme of home that rules this house includes your connection to both your biological and extended families. The archetype that resides in this house is the one that has the leading influence on the emotional energies associated with all that represents home to you. Because the 4th house relates both to your family roots and to your emotional life, it corresponds to the energies of your 1st and 4th chakras. The challenging aspects of the 4th house can include toxic memories and emotions, the consequences of which can be depression and melancholy. When I'm working with a person who has unfinished business from painful childhood experiences, which is very common, I refer to the archetype in that person's 4th house as my main source of insight for beginning a dialogue. A woman named Lydia, for example, was coping with the memory of a drug-addicted mother who often left home for months at a time. When Lydia's mother was home, she would manage to stay clean for anywhere from a week to 3 months. But inevitably, she turned again to drugs. Lydia told me several stories about how her mother returned from a bender only to make off with any item in the house that she could sell for drug money. One time, her mother returned to their home while Lydia was in class at her local college, gathered up all of Lydia's personal belongings that might be of value, and sold or bartered them for drugs. After that, Lydia did not agree to see her mother for 7 years. When I met Lydia, she was 28 and had yet to reconcile with her mother. Lydia radiated the energy of someone who could shower the child within people with abundant compassion. Yet she had a capacity to feel the hurt in others and was constantly motivated to help them. It helped her greatly to note that her mother archetype resided in her 4th house. One way to interpret this alignment was to suggest that mothering others, including her own mother, would be central to her life's journey. Lydia's husband, whom she married at age 26, lavished love on her and felt that she was his ideal mate. "I love this woman beyond anyone," he told me. "The moment I saw her, I knew that she would be my wife and the perfect mother to our children." And that is exactly what she is, the perfect wife and the perfect mother. The challenge of the 4th house is to complete the unfinished business of our childhood years and to establish healthy homes for ourselves as adults. You have a choice between handing down your children and loved ones your family wounds and patterns of negativity and passing on to them optimism and love of life. Those are the 2 choices that you have if this falls in line for you. I think that pretty much goes for anybody though. Healing your personal history so that you do not pass on your wounds is therefore essential to creating a healthy home for yourself and your family. I think more and more people are coming to realize that. As we talk more about childhood trauma and breaking ancestral patterns and things like that, we are definitely learning more about these aspects of ourselves and of our loved ones, and I think a lot of people are trying to implement that as they become parents. Okay, so we have 5 through 12 left. So I think I'm going to stop there because we just did 4 of them, and that gives a good bit of information. So we'll stop right there, and I'll do 5, 6, and 7 in the next video, maybe 8, and then we'll complete 9 through 12 or 8 through 12. However I decide to break it up. We'll do 2 more videos breaking up the houses. So I'll go ahead and put my bookmark in there. And we'll stop right there and we'll pick up on the 5th house in our next video. Thank you so very much for joining me. I love you all very much. And until I see you again, please take care of yourself. Please take care of those around you. Until I see you next time. Bye-bye.